Today was a scorcher. Alison popped her head up over the wall and watched as two small boys were running around the garden in their pyjamas, each of them wearing a pair of underpants on the outside. There was a large shed to her left, a bright red kiddie slide on her right, and a paddling pool filled with water in the middle of the lawn. The two lads were clambering up the slide, leaping over the paddling pool, launching themselves into the air before landing, one fist on the ground in a classic superhero pose. Weirdos, laughed Alison. Just then, one of the boys misjudged his jump and fell, one foot splashing down into the paddling pool. Water went everywhere. "It's freezing!" he yelped, flicking out his soggy sock. Alison walked over to the pool, slipped off one of her Crocs, and dipped her toes in the water. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," smirked George. "We've both been weeing in that pool for a couple of days." "You what?" Alison screamed. "That's disgusting." "Just when I think that you two cannot be any more vulgar, you take things down to the next level. Vile, boys, just vile." "It's not our fault," Kenny argued. "The dog next door started it. We caught him whittling in the pool earlier this week." Alison slammed her hands down on her hips again. "Just because that little puppy happens to wee in the pool does not mean that you two need to wee in the pool too. For goodness sake, the dog licks its own bottom and you wouldn't do that." "Technically, we could blame our parents," agreed George. "We both wanted to stay home and play video games, but our mums ganged up on us and said that it was the hottest summer in years, threw us outside to get some fresh air. And if you haven't noticed, Alison, we've both got ginger hair. We've both got really pale skin and freckles. We're going to fry this summer." Just then, Grandpa Jock's hand popped out the shed, holding 3 tins of juice. "Here, lads, Iron Brew. This'll cool you down." Each of the children took a tin. "Thanks, Grandpa." "Iron Brew," said Alison, scrunching up her nose. "I've never heard of Iron Brew before." "Oh, it's really good," said George. "It's fizzy and sweet, and it guarantees you a good burp." He laughed, knocking back his can. He paused and opened his mouth. Alison put her hands on her hips again. "George, what do you say?" she cried. "Probably." "God, that was a loud one!" And he nudged Kenny in the ribs and the two boys giggled together. "Right, my turn," announced Crayon Kenny, and he knocked back his tin and chugged. Finally, he released the can from his mouth and... "We have blast off," giggled George. "No wonder my Grandpa Jock loves this stuff." Alison knew she was next. "It's only fizzy juice, it's only fizzy juice," she kept repeating. She thrust the can up to her lips and took a mouthful. It was unbelievably fizzy. It was warm and tingly and the bubbles rippled up her nose. It was hot and spicy and sweet and ginger, definitely ginger, and orange and lemon and... Now, if you've ever seen that film Elf, about Buddy the Elf, who's not a real elf, he's just a kid who crawls inside Santa's sack one Christmas and ended up at the North Pole, and he grew up thinking he was an elf, but he went back to New York to find his dad, and the bit where he drinks a whole bottle of fizzy juice really fast, and then he lets out a massive burp. It was like that, only louder. Alison opened her mouth and let rip with the biggest belch ever in the history of burping. Ever. It thundered, it rippled, it echoed. The earth trembled. Flocks of birds swept majestically out of trees, frightened by the sudden noise. Car alarms were set off. Dogs whimpered and covered their faces. Small children ran in terror. The world shuddered to a halt. What the heck was that? A small head popped up above the garden fence. "Ben!" the two lads cried together. End of chapter 5.